Hello friends, welcome to all of you in Dr. Jaggi's Academy. In my last lecture, I have taught you physical properties of metals and non-metals. Today I am going to start chemical properties of metal and non-metals. So let's start. The chemical properties are those properties in which metal and non-metal react with other substance or reagent to form a different product or new product. The various reagents with which the metal and non-metal reacts are number 1 is oxygen, second is water, third is acid, and fourth are bases. The first I will discuss the reaction of metal with the oxygen. Generally metals react with the oxygen to form a metal oxides. The main characteristic feature of the metal oxide is that they are basic in nature. For example, I am taking the example of magnesium. When it burns with the oxygen, when it burns in the presence of oxygen, then it forms magnesium oxide. The next example is the iron. When it comes in contact with the moist air, it forms a iron oxide, which is known as a rust. So here I am taking the example of iron chain. When it comes in contact with the moist air, then it undergoes rusting and it changes into a rust. And rust is totally different from the starting iron chains. The next one example is a copper. So when the copper interact with the moist air which contains oxygen, carbon dioxide and water, then it forms a copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. So due to formation of copper carbonate, there is a formation of green coating on its surface. So here I am taking the example of, we have a normal copper metal. When it comes in contact with the moist air, then there is a formation of green coating on its surface, and this green coating is due to the formation of copper hydroxide and copper carbonate due to interaction of copper with the moist air. How to check? When the metals are react with the oxygen, it forms basic oxide. So how to check the basic nature of the metal oxide? The basic nature of metal oxides, they are checked by the chemical testing. In chemical test, first of all, we are dissolve the metal oxide. Here I am taking the example of magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide dissolve in a water to form the magnesium hydroxide, that is a suspension of magnesium oxide. And this magnesium hydroxide, in this magnesium oxide we add a red litmus. The red litmus is converted into a blue litmus. So due to the conversion of red litmus to blue, it proves that the nature of metal oxide is a basic in nature. The next one is reaction of non-metal with oxygen. Non-metal does not react with the oxygen. Non-metal react with the oxygen to form a non-metal oxide. And the main characteristic feature of non-metal oxide is acidic in nature. So I am taking the example of non-metal react with the oxygen. Here there is a sulfur, which is a non-metal. When it interact with the oxygen, it forms the sulfur dioxide as a gas. The next one, carbon, when they interact with the oxygen, it burns and to produce the gas carbon dioxide. This sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide oxides are acidic in nature. So how to check the acidic nature of non-metal oxides? The acidic nature of non-metal oxides are checked with the help of chemical testing. So in this case I am taking the example of sulfur dioxide. When it dissolves in a water to form a sulfurous acid. And in this sulfurous acid I will add the blue litmus. The blue litmus is converted into a red litmus. So due to the conversion of blue to red, it proves that the nature of non-metal oxide, this non-metal oxide is acidic in nature. The next one is reaction of metal with the water. So general reaction, metal react with water to form a metal hydroxide and hydrogen gas. The reaction of metal with water depend upon the reactivity of or nature of metal. For example, we have a different types of metal. For instance, sodium and potassium. They are a highly reactive metal, whereas zinc and iron are less reactive metal. However, the silver, copper and gold are least reactive metal. So first I am taking the example what will happen when the highly reactive metal they react with the water. So we have a sodium metal which is a highly reactive metal. When they dissolve in a water, it forms the sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Due to the reactivity of sodium metal, sodium react with the cold water to form hydroxide. Whereas the zinc, when they react with the water, it does not dissolve in a cold water. Generally it dissolves in a steam, means hot water, to form the zinc hydroxide with the evolution of hydrogen gas. Another one is gold. The gold are the least reactive or highly unreactive metal. So it does not react with the steam to form the different products. Next one is the reaction of non-metal with the water. The non-metal does not react with the water in any condition, means neither they react with the cold water or steam. The next one is chemical properties of the metal is the reaction of metal with the acids. The general reaction are metal react with the acid to form salt and hydrogen gas. For example, sodium metal, when it reacts with the HCl, it forms the sodium chloride and H2 gas. Next is aluminium, react with the HCl to form a aluminium chloride and hydrogen gas. Another example is copper. The copper does not react with the dilute sulfuric acid, whereas when it dissolves in a concentrated sulfuric acid, then it forms a copper sulfate and hydrogen gas. So silver, copper, which are least reactive metal, they don't react with the acid. So why are the curd, pickles, juices are not stored in a iron or copper or aluminium vessels? So this is due to, as we know that the curd, pickle and juices are acidic in nature. So the acid present in these substances, they are react with the metal vessel to form a toxic salt and which are harmful for their health. So that is why curd, pickle, citrus juices, they are not stored in a iron vessel, aluminium vessel or metal vessel. Instead of storing of metal vessel, we are stored in a glass vessel. The next one is reaction of non-metal with acids. Generally the non-metal does not react with the acid. Here I am taking the example of non-metal as a sulfur. When it react with the HCl, there is no any reaction, there is no formation of any product during these two non-metal with HCl. Next one is carbon with HCl, no reaction. However, there are some few non-metals such as a sulfur and phosphorus react with the acid such as a concentrated sulfuric acid and nitric acid. When the sulfur reacts with the nitric acid, then it forms sulfuric acid and nitrogen dioxide. Next one is reaction of metal with the bases. Metal react with the base, then it forms salt and hydrogen gas. For example, aluminium, when it reacts with the sodium hydroxide, it forms the sodium aluminate and hydrogen gas. On the other hand, zinc also reacts with the sodium hydroxide, it forms the sodium zincate and hydrogen gas. But there are some, all the metals are react with the bases. Next one is the reaction of non-metal with the bases. Generally, the non-metal does not react with the bases. For example, sulfur does not react with the sodium hydroxide. But there are few exception example of non-metal that react with the sodium hydroxide or base. Here I am taking the example of chlorine. Chlorine reacts with the sodium hydroxide to form a sodium hypochlorite with the evolution of sodium chloride. The next I am summarizing the chemical properties of the metals and non-metals. So in this case, metals and non-metal react with the different reagents such as oxygen, water, acid and base. So when the metal react with the oxygen, then it forms a metal oxides which are basic in nature. On the other hand, non-metal react with the oxygen to form a non-metal oxide which are acidic in nature. Metal react with the water to form a metal hydroxide which is again basic in nature, whereas a non-metal does not react with the water. Metal react with the acid to form a salt and hydrogen gas, whereas a non-metal don't react with the acid. And the last chemical property is metal react with the base to form a salt and hydrogen gas, whereas non-metal don't react with the bases.